We're all set then for the seniors, Group A against Group C, who get themselves underway onto the track, and the grid lines up with the groups amalgamated together as follows. It's going to see the quickest from qualifying, start from pole position for all of its heats today. Mark Kimber is there alongside fellow Brit, which is Ben Waldridge. Row 2 then lines up with Thanapongpan Satumnu, who had dramas in Heat 1. He found himself in strife and a little bit lower down than expected as they got underway. Brett Ward lines up alongside. That's our championship leader coming to this final round. Row 3 then has the likes of Patrick Degenbeck and Noah Roovers. Further back from that we have Nicholas Bart and Roberto Manducci, who received a penalty in the earlier race. He starts from row number 4. Row 5 then lines up with Jordan Brown-Nutley, another championship contender, with Nicholas Scholl for company in 10th place. Row 6 sees Felix Vargay with David Remy, and then back on row number 7 it's going to be Niels Coulomb and Hugo Anderson. Row 8 will see Joe Ferreira with Patrick Nasher, and Marius Solly Paulsen will round out the grid in 17th place. A quick recap of the championship. Brett Ward comes here this weekend on 248 points for the senior class. Ollie Clark lines up in second on 235. Third place is Nicholas Scholl on 232 and 225 points for Joey Van Splunteren. That's how they'll all filter out for this weekend. In terms of the heats we've had so far today for the seniors, well, earlier on we had A against B, which saw the win for Mark Kimber, second for Jerry Van Splunteren, and third place for Ollie Clark. We've got Mark Kimber out in this one. The other two will be out in the next of the races. And in the subsequent race we had Group C against Group D, with Brett Ward the winner, Ben Waldridge second, and Nicholas Scholl third. All of those are out in this heat, so we'll see how they'll separate themselves in those places across the course of the next 11 laps, which very shortly will be underway as the carts work their way down to the slowing down point now through turns 12 and 13 they're about to approach, which is the final couple of corners on the circuit. Again, I have to go through the grid hatchings. As soon as Thomas Liner is happy with the formation, we'll get the red lights out, and away we go with racing then for the seniors once again this afternoon. Lovely setting here in Italy as we get underway. The competitors head their way down towards the first corner. A great start from Mark Kimber straight off, who dives into the lead of the race. He'll take Ben Waldridge with him. He's managed to stay up there in second place, and then Brett Ward has slotted himself into third position. Fourth place then will be the 265 machine of Thanapongpan Satumnu, as everyone else gradually makes their way through turns 5 and 6. Leaders onto the back straight for the first time, and here comes Brett Ward straight away, trying to make a move on second place man Ben Waldridge, who was up against in the earlier race and got the better of towards the end. But those two are very, very close. They need to work together not to let Mark Kimber get away out front, and there goes Brett Ward straight away for a move to take second place away. So there he goes up into second. Let's see if he can get onto the coattails of Mark Kimber in due course. He needs to do it as quick as he possibly can here before Mark Kimber starts to steal a march within this race. But Mark Kimber comes through the last corner up towards the start-finish line, and he'll lead lap number 1 by a very small margin. It's just going to be a quarter of a second, and he leads Brett Ward into the first turn. Third place at the end of the first lap is Ben Waldridge. Fourth place is then going to be Thanapongpan Satumnu. Fifth place for Noah Roovers in kart 287. Sixth place for Roberto Manducci, ahead of Patrick Degenbeck, Nicholas Bart. Jordan Brown-Nutley has stayed where he was pretty much on the grid. He's behind Nicholas Scholl, and Jordan Brown-Nutley's down there in 10th place. So again, much work to do, but we have seen from Jordan a vast improvement towards the end of the races as Brett Ward goes for the lead, and he gets the job done down the inside line of Mark Kimber. So a great move there from Brett Ward to steal the march straight away here from Mark Kimber. That's what he needed to do, otherwise it would have been Mark Kimber trying to get himself out ahead of the rest of the field. So he now comes through, and can he hold off Mark Kimber for the duration of the next 9 laps? We'll have to wait and see. Third place still Ben Waldridge, now starting to attack the back of Mark Kimber as well as they work their way through the first couple of corners. Mark Kimber second, Ben Waldridge is third, but here's the one now who's attacking as much as he possibly can. So Tumnu still there in fourth place, having a better run this time round, and fourth place for Noah Roovers, who was in the top 3 at the end of his first heat of the day. But for now, top 3 out in front, all of those featuring as British drivers as they turn off the hairpin at turn 8. Let's see if anyone's going to make a move down towards the hairpin at turn 10. Doesn't look like it all. Line astern for the time being. Jordan Brown-Nutley's made up 2 places on this lap, now into 8th position. So the Brit and the championship contender now starting to get his way towards the front. Again, he needs to do it quickly before those ahead of him start pulling away. But for now, Jordan Brown-Nutley is on the move. Top 5 go through. They are the ones out front. Then there's a gap back to our 6th place man, which is Roberto Manducci, followed by Patrick Degenbeck, and then Jordan Brown-Nutley in 8th place, Nicholas Scholl and Hugo Anderson in 9th and 10th places. And Hugo Anderson, I think, has just done the quickest lap of anyone at 50.961. So, yeah, Hugo Anderson, quickest man out there on circuit at the minute. He is trying to work his way higher with inside the top 10. Let's see if he can make further places. Still a long way to go. We've got the race distance of a junior race still ahead of us at the minute, so plenty of time for places to change once more. 4th and 5th place guys just dropping back now, so Tunu and Noah Ruvers just letting the top 3 bridge the gap as they venture out of turn number 11 and head down towards the final couple of turns once more. But no stopping Brett Ward so far today. Winner of his first heat, and it looks like he's on the way to a second heat victory as well. He goes well at this circuit, as we said earlier on. Last year back in May he got a pre-final win and managed to come home second within the final. So Brett Ward looking for great things once again this weekend. Down the back straight they head once more. This time round though, Ben Waldridge is the quickest man. The man who sits there in 3rd place, 50.770. Still can't find a way past Mark Kimber, who now ups his game, gets even closer to the back of Brett Ward. They negotiate turns 8 and 9, head down towards the hairpin at turn 10. Let's see if Mark Kimber's going to go for an attack on the next lap. He's in a very precarious position at the minute. That man who's got to defend and attack at the same time, and he was under attack there from Ben Waldridge, who slung one down the inside line but didn't get the job done. That in turn has just allowed Brett Ward to extend the margin to over half a second, I'd say, as they cross the line. Yeah, just about half a second between the top 2 now, because Mark Kimber is starting to feel the pressure from behind. Kimber and Waldridge continue their fight for 2nd and 3rd. So Tumnu is there in 4th. He's now got a little bit of a gap over Noah Ruvers, who in turn is 1.5 seconds up the road ahead of Roberto Manducci. Patrick Degenbeck is still in 7th. Jordan Brown-Nutley sits 8th. Hugo Anderson has made up another place to 9th. And Nicholas Scholl now drops down into 10th position. So just starting to settle down briefly as a move came there from Jordan Brown-Nutley by the looks of it, down the inside of Patrick Degenbeck. And he should have got that job done at sector 2, which he has. So Brown-Nutley now jumps up into 7th position. So it's getting better, as we said, towards the end of the race for Brown-Nutley. That's where he comes into his own and starts to make up a few places. So let's see if there's any more left in the tank for him. As Brett Ward now completes lap number 6. Through he goes. Leads still Mark Kimber by about half a second here. And Ben Waldridge attacking still for 2nd place. Let's see if he can move up any higher within this race. A lot of hard work going through these races at the minute. You can see the G-force being affected as they turn through the corners. Head down for some of them. Some of the taller drivers want to get their head down and get the best of the slipstreams off the straights and in towards the corners. And that is exactly what our 2nd place man Mark Kimber was doing. The man behind though, Ben Waldridge, quickest once again on that previous lap, a 50.705. So no stopping Ben Waldridge so far today. Earlier on, of course, he picked up a 2nd place behind Brett Ward. This time it might be a 3rd place behind both Brett Ward and Mark Kimber, who was an earlier race winner as well. So the two top guns coming up against each other within this race as they go through to complete lap number 7. The fight we now focus on the screen is between the guys down in 12th and 13th places. That was David Reme and, by the looks of it, number 240, which is the machine of João Ferreira, who comes from Portugal. Brett Ward now takes over the quickest lap of the race at 50.683, so he extends his margin again, just briefly, still not creeping over half a second between the top 2. So Mark Kimber keeping Brett Ward as honest as he possibly can as he's under attack still from Ben Waldridge. As those two guys make their way through the hairpin at turn number 10. Nose to tail on the run down towards turn 11, but again Ben Waldridge not going to try anything too silly here. It's about consistency first off on Saturday, which then puts you in good faith for Sunday's point scoring round for the pre-final and the final. So through they come now to complete lap number 8. Brett Ward extends the margin for the first time to over half a second. So that's good news for him. He can now just start to ease off very, very slightly. He probably won't, but he has the reminder there to do so if he wishes. He can have a brief look over his shoulder just to see how Mark Kimber and Ben Waldridge are getting on. But for another consecutive lap, Brett Ward has gone even quicker in terms of a lap time. 50.594 from Brett Ward. Here comes the move though from Ben Waldridge. Down the inside line he goes at turn number 8, and that's job done for him. So that's one ticked off. Let's see if he can now get onto the back of Brett Ward as quick as he possibly can, because time's starting to tick away now. Lap 9 very shortly to be completed, which means there's going to be 2 to go. And Ben Waldridge will not want to finish behind Brett Ward for a second time today. So it's going to be game on between these two Brits as they come through. Already Mark Kimber just being dropped slightly there as they cross the line. Gap between the top two came down slightly, still remains at 0.6 of a second. As the leaders work their way on towards turns 4 and 5. First still Brett Ward, second for now Ben Wildridge, third place for Mark Kimber, fourth place for Satumnu, fifth place for Noah Ruvers, sixth place is Roberto Manducci, and Jordan Brown-Nutley is still yet to make up any places from 7th place, although he's only about 1/10 of a second adrift of Roberto Manducci. So let's see if he can make a move towards the end of this lap. He is getting closer and closer, and Brown-Nutley is looking threatening in 7th place. In fact, he's just gone through there ahead of Roberto Manducci, so that now changes at sector 2. But now he's about 3 seconds back from Noah Ruvers, so I think Jordan Brown-Nutley, 6th place, is as high as he's going to go as Brett Ward comes through to start what's going to be the last lap of the race here in Italy. He looks over his shoulder just to see how much of a gap he's got between himself and Ben Waldridge. He'll probably know that is Ben Waldridge now in 2nd place. He'll be able to pick up the colours of the 2nd place man. Mark Kimber, will he try anything on the final lap to get himself back up into 2nd place? Again, he won't risk anything too much, because being a winner earlier on, it does mean that he can just sit there in 3rd and still be pretty confident of a possible front row starting grid position for the pre-final tomorrow. But for now, Brett Ward on his way through, 0.6 of a second in hand over Ben Waldridge, and looks like he's pretty secure to the end of the race. He had another glimpse over his shoulder just to see what's happening behind. It's still Ben Waldridge in 2nd and Mark Kimber to 3rd to the line. I think that's the way it will stay. As Brett Ward comes through, it's going to be a double victor here in the senior class as he takes the checker flag at the Sette Laghe circuit. He looks to his left, he gives the nod, and he is happy with his performance here in that 3rd heat for the seniors. Lots happening towards the end as the lower regions of the top 10 take the checker flag, but it is Brett Ward who takes victory for a 2nd time today by over half a second. That is fairly good. He would have liked to have been a little bit more comfortable than that, but it's good enough to take the victory for Brett Ward. Ben Waldridge pulls alongside to congratulate him, and Mark Kimber brings up the top 3 in 3rd place. 9.5 minutes of racing completed there for the seniors, where Brett Ward is our victor for a 2nd time today. 2nd place goes to that man there, Ben Waldridge, in kart 247. 3rd place then for Mark Kimber for the Strawberry Racing team. 4th place is Thanapongpan Satumnu for the Super Windforce RT machine, and he'll be a little bit happier with that performance after a slightly disappointing heat number 1. Noah Ruvers comes through in 5th. Jordan Brown-Nutley made progress to 6th. Hugo Anderson then comes through in 7th place, followed by 8th place Roberto Manducci. 9th place goes away of Nicholas Scholl. Not the best of performances for him. He did start though 10th on the grid, so he will come through with 9th position. Patrick Degenbach gets 10th. Felix Vargay finishes outside the top 10 in 11th. David Reme comes through to 12th, and Niels Colan to 13th. Joel Ferreira for 14th place, Nicholas Bart for 15th, Patrick Nasher for 16th, and Solly Paulson Marius